content of this channel is for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button. And please, feel free to share the video. Thank you. What's good, everybody? You know who I am, man. I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It's the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up with no chasers, man. You know how it go, man. You know the routine. Now, before I get things started, like I always do, man, you know, I want to make sure that I give an extra special shout out to all them haters out there. What's up, haters? Yo, if you just not coming in, man, when you come in, man, make sure to, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button, man. That's just standard practice, man. Do that. You get me? Just go ahead and do that. In the next order of business, like I always do, I want to give a shout out to all the members of the Green Gorilla channel. Thank you for your help and your support. So, I always shout, the people out before every live stream as much as I possibly can. So let's get that started, man. I want to give a shout out to Brian Peaks, Papa Didas, Roderick Jackson, Scott Haywood, Blacksword 404, Black Uhuru Strikes, Dr. Thunder, Dr. Tree, Rais Muajid, and Leroy Honeycutt. Big up to y'all. Straight up. Big up to Show Me, The Thinker, Broken Blade, Javon Thompson, Life of Commerce, Supertech, Waffle Weave, Kisses from Afar, 77 Base X, Brian McMurray, and Apex Sprouter. Big up. Big up to K-Ron S, Anthony Davis, BGS Ibmore, Professor Carlton Jones, Artisan MC, Damon Brown, Donnell 360, Herbert Lewis, Seven Coast Dojo, Rogason, and Pulpit 28. Big up. Big up to Charles Rogers, B. Hillfire, Rick Ross, Sandra Jean, Brotherly Love, Charles Gilmore, Patricia Colley, 7Q Pitt, Kwaku Asasi, Gregory Oliver, and Greg. Big up. Big up to Barry Little, Alan Wiley, Mr. Valentino, Jason Hales, Black Men Being Brutally Honest, Omni Americana, Cameron 87, Deshaun Nolly, Nelso, Kareem Not Karen, and Dr. Rock. Big up. Big up to Jay Charles, Mark Holt, Lee Ways, Jeffrey Speed, The Face, Mark Swift, Odd Collar, Donald Watts, hiphop.catv, Coach DC, and Kashif Caldwell. Big up. Big up to Nichita, Mr. Blue Collar, Barnolis, I'm Just Jules, TD Hip Hop Media, Drew Main, Mr. Heat, Sir Anthony, MLR, and Universal 178. Big up. Big up to Rasheed Barnes, Aaron Smith, DH, C-Truth the Revelator, Gold Professor, Aaron Infinite, Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Kalan Jakala, Ricky Dawson, Cedric Bowman, True 7360, BK Born Shaheed, James Washington, Hostile AWW, Pierre 1, Marvin Battle Jr., and I can't forget my brother in heaven, Forrest Windu. Big up. And on my Patreon side, I want to give a shout out to Kevin Marchbank Owens, William Joyner, Tyrone Hampton, Jules Winfield, Excalibur, Jason Warren, Pursuer Prisoner Taz, Dragon 59, Supreme Ibmore, Adrian Hicks, Jay Bailey, Mr. Michi Momal, and Asangwa. Big up to y'all, man. Thank you so much for your ongoing support of GG, man. Appreciate that, man. Big up to y'all, man. Y'all deserve a round of applause. And if you would like to support the Green Gorilla channel, here's how you do it. What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. Today, I want to introduce you to my new membership program that consists of 5 levels where you can invest in the Green Gorilla channel on a monthly basis and receive level-specific perks. Memberships are special because they improve the quality of the content of the channel and will help me to be able to keep the channel going. Now, to participate in the Green Gorilla channel membership program, all you have to do is hit the join button which is located right next to the subscribe button on my channel page. Now, for all of my subscribers who decide not to participate in my membership program, nothing will change. The content will keep coming the way it always has. Thanks for watching, and be careful out here, people. Bless. What's good, everybody? You know who I am, man, and you know what I came here to do, man. I came here to have a conversation. And of course, you know, it's the Green Gorilla channel. It's the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chasers. So if you're the kind of person who's easily triggered, you know, you might want to step back a little bit. And, you know, today I think this is going to be a cap to a conversation I've been having, man, all week long, really. And it's about the social contract tradition, and it's about, you know, what these Enlightenment thinkers think about the construction of the state, how it comes to be, and, you know, the role that men are supposed to play in it. And, you know, the question was asked to me, you know, by BGS, basically, you know, well, what impact did Rousseau have on the French Revolution and subsequent, you know, political activism in the Western world, and maybe even throughout the entirety of the world. But, you know, so I figured, look, if I'm going to, you know, get the question, I'm going to answer the question in full. But this is the most entertaining part of it all to me, because you get a firsthand look at what Rousseau thinks about the role of women in society. And we get to see also a feminist and how she's reacting to it. Because I'm reading from a paper that a feminist wrote about what Rousseau wrote. Okay, so anyway, man, you know, Rousseau is basically of the mindset that women have to abide by modesty. They have to restrain themselves by being modest. I mean, and I think that that's reasonable, especially if they decide to get into a relationship with someone and take an oath to be in that relationship with a person for the course of a lifetime. I mean, if they're making that oath. Now, if they want to be bust downs on their own time, you know, like if you feel like you're a slut and you're a woman and, you know, that's the thing to do because men can be sluts. If that's what you want to do, man, fine. Look, I'm not judging you. I mean, I don't want you to be in my life, you know, in relation to being a long-time partner. That's just my personal choice. Like, why would I want somebody that everybody's had access to? That's just me. That's just my opinion. But I mean, if you want to be out there like that, I mean, you know, it's a free country, man. You can do whatever you want to. But a man risks a lot involving himself in a relationship with a woman. A whole lot. A lot can go wrong. There's no safeguards anymore for men. There are only safeguards present for women. And this is at the same time in which women are increasingly able to earn money for themselves. So go figure. Men still have to support women while women are able to support themselves. And there's no, you know, large amount of women seeking to, you know, absolve men from the responsibility of taking care of kids financially, although they don't want them up in the mix dictatorially as a patriarch. So all of the paternalism, they want that gone. But they want that money to keep coming. They want that revenue, those resources to come in because, you know, that's what a man's supposed to do, right? To provide, to give something. But the question then is, well, if you're able to provide for yourself, then what are you looking for a man to be a provider for? What? This is the conundrum that the contemporary men are faced with. And women have to just actually, they have to understand, like, Why is it necessary for a man to provide anything for you if you are independent? Do you know what that means? If you're independent, you're independent. If you can make it on your own, you can make it on your own. You don't need a man to give you shit in a relationship or otherwise. So all of the demands that you want a man that's high value, I want a man that has XYZ education, a man that makes XYZ income. Why is it of a necessity for you? Why is it something that you're even requiring? Why? You wanted to go out here and get money. You wanted to go out here and be equal to men. This is what you wanted. So why the fuck should a man give you anything? Why are you expecting a man to give you anything? I want a lady to respond to that, which probably are no ladies watching. Probably are no ladies watching. Thank you, Anthony Davis. I appreciate the contribution, bro. Appreciate that. But anyway, man, you know, I just want to finish off what I started because this is profoundly interesting to me. Now, let's just get right into it, man. I'm going to finish reading what I started off with yesterday. And I'll give my commentary as I go along with it, right? As I go through it. So, and I'm not going to start exactly where I left off. I'm going to cover some ground that I already covered so as to make it seamless as I go into the next section. So, like, this is a long article. I can't go over what I covered before, but suffice it to say that, you know, Rousseau has a problem with people who perceive society as one in which the only thing you're trying to do is to work towards whatever goals you have for yourself in an egoistic manner and neglecting any duty to the group. Like, if society is perceived as something only in which, you know, you're here to make money and to do things for yourself and to work towards your own interests at all times, then he's going to say, well, you know, that's a bankrupt notion of what life as a citizen in any polity should be. And women who, you know, who are also entering into society with that aim and those expectations in mind, they only compound the problem that men are subjected to or were subjected to originally. Like, it's even worse for a variety of reasons, which we haven't gotten into all the way through and through, but that's pretty much the gist of the argument, okay? That's pretty much the gist. And thank you for somebody who hit me up with the cash app. D-Rock Den, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. But anyway, so he says, and he just assumes there is a sexual division of labor, which basically results as a result of the association of the sexes. And it's not just the result of practical cooperation, but it is a reflection of the essential difference between the sexes. And she says, as we have seen, and this is an article written by Lydia Lange, okay? She's a feminist, okay? She says, as we have seen, the woman is so constituted, according to Rousseau, that passivity and timidity are assets to her proper purpose. Leur destination propre. Okay? Proper purpose. Okay? Once social relations have developed, this purpose is to reproduce within a family whose unity depends entirely on her behavior. And I believe this to be true. There's no getting around this. This is of absolute importance, okay? The family unit ceases to exist without the cooperation of women. This is why, you know, you can talk of whatever, you can say whatever you want to say about cooperation, submission, control, however the fuck you term it. If a woman is obstinate and refuses to be modest and refuses to cooperate, and to basically, you know, keep the family unit together, the fucker just falls apart at the seams. Bottom line. Those are the facts. There's no getting around that. And in today's culture, it's just easy for a woman to retreat from a familial situation. No fault divorce. Most often they're going to be awarded to children. Then they're going to get child support. If they were married, they're going to get alimony and half of the assets, even if they weren't working. And they could work because, of course, today in our culture, every woman has access to the market just like a man does. But they still have the expectation that a man's supposed to take care of them if they've been taking care of, of them, which I don't understand. If it's all about equality and you can go get it like he can, go get it. That's how I feel about it. That's just my opinion, though. But anyway, natural passivity and timidity in sexual relations, according to Rousseau, form the natural base for modesty, which is the specifically feminine virtue in civil society. Now, in terms of being passive, it ain't like, as far as I'm concerned, like all of that is unnecessary for real. But you have to be cooperative to a certain extent. And contemporarily, man, like we just see, especially in black culture, man, women are not cooperative very much, if they're cooperative at all. And I've said, like if you look at videos, man, like everybody's like raving over the new sensation, Kevin Samuels. And it's for a reason. Because time after time after time, you're seeing woman after woman after woman who consistently say that they want to be in a relationship, but what do they want to be in a relationship for? Only to receive something. Not to give very much, if anything at all. Many of them have children and have already left men that they have children with because that man wasn't good enough for them, wasn't ambitious enough for them. They need a man that's making a lot of bread, a lot of dough. So the regular average dude wasn't good enough for them. So fuck the family, fuck the unit, just break it up, split it up. Because that shit wasn't working for them. But the narrative is, the man always leaves. Because the woman is always willing to maintain the relationship, right? Which is bullshit. It's cap. Like all of these broken families because, Papa was a Rolling Stone and he was just knocking down, woman after woman after woman after woman. That's not how this works. It's an easy way to avoid responsibility or not to take accountability, but or to make one party accountable wholeheartedly while dismissing or shucking responsibility on the female end. But not wanting to run shit all the time and being in control all the time is going to be, in other words, cooperation is going to be essential. Okay, but Rousseau is calling for passivity and timidity. But I think that modesty is a requirement. Modesty is a requirement because who wants to be with a woman who is a bust down? Look, modesty is the attribute that may ensure biological paternity of the children to the man she lives with. And the necessity Rousseau sees for this dictates the retiring and wholly domestic life of good women. Now, look, we've created a conundrum in this culture. So women are just out, doing everything that men are doing. And of course, like nowadays, women got work husbands, side piece husbands, and all kind of other crazy shit. Shit that they keep on the low. So I creep, yeah, like, but how does that man know them kids his? If a woman is not modest, you're doing something terrible to the family unit if you have respect for it to begin with. But hey, it is what it is. Because look, the woman serves as the link between them and their father. That's the truth, man. Whether you like it or not, the woman is the link between the children and their father. She alone makes him love them and gives him the confidence to call them his own. Period. But nowadays, you got women who are like, you got to accept me and my kids from 2-3 different relationships. And if I fuck around on you, you got to accept this one too. Come on, bro. Really? Come on, man. What man wants a bust down for a wife, man? Like, women don't want men to cheat on them either. That's the confusing thing about it all. Women don't want men that's out fucking every woman out there and then coming back to them with the leftovers. They don't like that. So why would a man like that? Why would a man want to have to deal with that or put up with that? I just don't get it. But nowadays, it's like, just looking at this Jada Will shit, man, it's like, it's terrible, bro. It's a terrible scenario. You making this man look terrible. You making this man look less than a man. Any man that's saying that, okay, it's cool for another dude to fuck my wife is a goddamn liar. You are a fucking liar. You are a liar. If you are a man and you say, well, it's cool for my wife to be fucking other dudes or whatever the case may be, or it ain't gonna affect me, or we got this open. Well, some dudes might be cool with an open relationship like that because they into this polyamory or whatever the case may be. But come on, man, let's just keep it real, man. How you gonna be proud of your wife, man, and you know that, anybody got access to a body, bruh? Any man that's saying that's cool is a liar. And I can tell, like, let me fuck your wife then. How about that? I'll let you watch. How about that then? Okay? Anyway, on account of the artificiality and apparent fragility of the bond of the father to his children, and it is fragile, the woman is required to live a life dictated by the necessity to appear respectable. That is, to convince her husband and everyone else that she is sexually monogamous. Well, I mean, if she got into a marital relationship, it's supposed to be one that's monogamous, isn't it? Or maybe we under new rules or some shit like that. Maybe it's some new shit out here, man. Maybe it's something new. Maybe we on some new shit now. I don't know. Man, I don't know. Anyway, nothing less than this degree of certitude. Like, who wants to be uncertain or guessing or questioning whether or not the kids he's feeding and providing for, giving nurturance and money and all kind of resources, allocating towards see, she already knows her kids are hers. She never has to worry about that. Never has to question that. If the kid was spawned from her loins, she knows who the fuck her kids are. But the man never has absolute certainty about this unless he takes a DNA test. But how's this man supposed to just automatically be down with supporting and providing and protecting and doing all of this without the certainty that his wife is being modest, is being, basically chaste? That she's not a whore. I'm just saying, like, why is this even up for opinion or debate? If you think that, like, what Jada Pinkett did was, like, some cool shit, You're probably trash, period. That's a trashy woman, man. To me, that's a trashy lady. I'm just being honest. And you can say what you want to say about it, man. I think that lady is pure trash. That's just me. Not only did you fuck somebody else, you told the world about it. Not only did you tell the world about it, you fucked your son's friend. That's too much boundary crossing. You fuck your son's friend. You didn't fuck somebody in your peer group. You fuck your son's friend. That's not a modest woman. Will Smith is not a happy man. He's not. Appreciate that, Rashid. He's not a happy man. These ideas are not new. We're not creating, like these thoughts, these ideas are not new. So check it out. How are you going to induce him to remain attached to a particular family and provide for its support if the woman is out fucking around doing whatever she wants to do? Why would a man stick around for some shit like that? A woman ain't going to stick around for that. Why would a man stick around for that? Why would he? And we're talking about a time before women actually are entering into the marketplace. Why would a man tether himself to some bullshit like that? Why would he do it? That's a disgrace to a man. An absolute tragedy to a man. It doesn't get any lower than that. None. Anyway, by the very law of nature, women are at the mercy of men's judgments, as much for their own sake as for that of their children. It is not enough that they be estimable. They must be esteemed. It is not enough for them to be pretty. They must please. It is not enough for them to be temperate. They must be recognized as such. Their honor is not only in their conduct, but in their reputation. And it is not possible that a woman who consents to be regarded as disreputable can ever be decent. Now, hey, I'm not saying that a woman has to be toady and obsequious to a man, but damn, at least be agreeable. Not be an asshole. Because to be perfectly honest, man, the woman is doing spiritual work in the context of the relationship. If she's not willing to do the spiritual work and to create an emotional tone in the context of the household, that household is going to be fucked up. Bottom line. So she has to have her mind right. If her mind is not right, the very house that's supposed to be a place of refuge is going to be a place of war, consternation, consistent turmoil. Anyway, the wholly incompatible basis of masculine and feminine virtue are summed up in the following sentence from Emile, which is a work that, Rousseau wrote on education. Opinion is the grave of virtue among men and its throne among women. Rousseau does not, however, leave himself completely exposed to empirical refutation concerning the nature of women. In the letter to Monsieur d'Alembert, sur les spectacles, he writes, even if it could be denied that a special sentiment of chasteness was natural to women, would it be any the less true that in society their lot ought to be a domestic and retired life, and that they ought to be raised in principles appropriate to it? If the timidity, chasteness, and modesty which are proper to them are social inventions, it is in society's interest that women acquire these qualities. Thus, although Rousseau does not argue that the male-headed biological family is natural, and unaffected by history, he does argue that it is nevertheless a social institution that may be grounded on nature by reason. He writes, and this is Rousseau, when a woman complains on this score about unjust, man-made inequality, she is wrong. This inequality is not a human institution, or at least it is the work not of prejudice, but of reason. And then, this is the woman's, musing after that. It is the philosophical or philosophic significance that virtuous women in civil society are characterized as closer to nature than virtuous men. The latter must be transformed and denatured, according to Rousseau. The modest woman appears still as little more than uncorrupted. As such, she will form a necessary link between the supreme artifice of the good society on the one hand and nature on the other. So, it is true, man, women are required to keep society going. These are the facts, man, and they have to be virtuous in a specific kind of way. If not, they threaten the entire danger of the social project. And people don't believe that this is true. Now, what we've done is we've brought in the state in order to mediate or arbitrate private relationships between men and women. I'm telling you, in the end, this is not going to be good going on. In the near future, this is going to be cataclysmic. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. It's going to take 20 or 30 more years, and this social experiment, all this freedom, all of these rights, the vestiges and appendages of coverture laws that give women whatever they need and children whatever they need, and then they just make the man an ATM machine. Like, that's all you really are. You're a daddy in name only. You're a father with no parental rights whatsoever. That's not even really actually being a father. You're just a sperm donor who pays. You don't get paid, you pay. You're a powerless patriarch. A powerless pater. That just doesn't work. I'm telling you, that's not going to work in the long run. I guarantee you. And you'll find out why. Anyway, according to Rousseau, the social equality of the sexes poses a serious danger to civic virtue. His view of this danger is based upon the critical analysis of modern civil society, briefly described near the beginning of this paper, especially the concept of amor propre, proper kind of love, okay? To begin with, here is an image Rousseau paints of the ambitious, individualistic woman in a developing, mobile, bourgeois society. A brilliant wife is a plague to her husband, her children, her valets, everyone. From the sublime elevation of her fair genius, she disdains all her woman's duties and always begins by making herself into a man after the fashion of Mademoiselle de Enclos. Now, I don't know that reference, but, outside her home, she is always ridiculous and very justly criticized. This is the inevitable result as soon as one leaves one station and is not fit for the station one wants to adopt. All these women of great talent never impress anyone but fools. It is always known who the artist or the friend is who holds the pen or the brush when they work. It is known who the discreet man of letters is who secretly dictates their oracles to them. Now, I don't necessarily believe that this is actually true. I think some women are very capable intellectually, some even physically. So I don't know if I agree with that all the way, but what he does say further on to me makes a lot of sense. Anyway, he says this image is contemptuous. It signifies Rousseau's belief that if women attempt to act in society according to the norms of amor propre, engaging in constant competition to further their particular interest, which is what amor propre actually is, they will inevitably be bested by the men. It does not signify his admiration for the success of the male within that mode of social interaction. So in other words, like Rousseau is critical of amor propre in both situations. The situation for women is just more absurd than it is for the men. But they're both equally absurd. They both fail to hit the mark, or they both miss the mark in relation to cultivating civic virtue of the kind that's substantive as opposed to superficial. That's just Rousseau speaking, right? Anyway, for example, in another of the passages which show his awareness of familiar feminist arguments, he writes, "Women do not cease to proclaim that we raise them to be vain and coquettish, that we constantly entertain them with childish things in order to remain more easily their masters. They have no colleges. What a great misfortune. Would God there were none for boys, they would be more sensibly and decently raised." And so, in other words, like Rousseau is like, fuck the colleges for boys too. Get rid of them too. Anyway, the basic inequality of Rousseau's approach appears in his belief that the woman who enters public life on the terms of amor propre does even more violence to her nature than the man caught up in that mode of interaction. So she's referring to another one of Rousseau's works in the letter to Monsieur d'Alembert. Rousseau argues at great length that one of the major reasons that there ought not to be a theater established at Geneva is that this will result in women going out in public in company with men. Because of the very nature of sexual relations, according to Rousseau, the presence of women in public life undermines masculine excellence and exacerbates amor propre. The frequent attendance of men and women at public entertainments will focus attention on the natural impulses of the sexes to be pleasing to one another. While this is an expansion of the domain of women, since love is their empire, it diminishes men. Now she's trying to be, facetious with the, with the quotes around empire. This occurs because the standards of behavior appropriate to love and courtship, inevitably feminine standards, for reasons previously described. According to Rousseau, men who lead a life of constant association with women become innervated and weak. Man, I believe that wholeheartedly, bro. If you're constantly around women and you're constantly in a situation where you have to be amenable to what women desire and their little sensitivities and shit like that, you're going to become like worried about what you can do, what move you can make, can't make, and what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. You wondering whether you can ask a motherfucker to smile or not, and it's just too much. And you start to second guess everything. It's too much. Such men will be far more prone to turn their learning or talent to the pleasing performance arising for amor propre, rather than to the rigorous or morally challenging pursuit of truth, since they will inevitably compete with one another for feminine approbation. And this is, man, dude, I swear to God, this is true, man. Why you think you got so many token Negroes out here, man, talking about, we got to support our queens and all of this? Why do you think that is? There's a reason for that. Because these men are vying for the attention, the admiration, the approbation of women. They like getting pats on the backs from women. They like the attention from women. This is why they do this shit. It's why Derek Jackson did it. It's why Umar Johnson does it. It's why black male feminists do it. They like it. It allows them to play out some sort of, knighthood fantasy. They like it. They like this. But, Rousseau is like, this shit turns you into grovel. It turns you into a quisling. Even women who are feminists in the second wave, like Camille Paglia, says the same thing. Like, come on. You men are wimps. Like, when will you stand up for yourself? You just take the browbeating. You're ground down into a weenie boy by the time you're a fucking young adult. Anyway, by themselves, he writes, the men exempted from having to lower their ideas to the range of women and to clothe the reason in gallantry can devote themselves to grave and serious discourse without fear of ridicule. And you can't, just think about what's going on today. There are so many things that you can't say today. You literally have to clothe reason in gallantry. You can't be a straight shooter. You can't say what you think the truth is without fear of arousing, the ire of a certain disadvantaged group. And, women consider themselves to be among that kind of group. So you can't even talk candidly and openly, straight up with no chasers. You can't do it. You got to worry about whether or not you're going to offend their sensibilities and shit like that. Anyway, then, the author goes on to say, and her name is Lydia Lange, a presumed seductive power of women to impose their standards on account of the nature of sexual relations, as Rousseau sees them, enables women to dominate even in areas which are thought to be ultimately beyond their competence. It appears in the second discourse and in Emile that love may have been the original stimulus to the appearance of amor propre, even though it quickly lost sight of its origin. At the beginning of the state of savagery, when people first settled in shelters of their own making, they were soon seduced by the pleasures of social life. People grew accustomed to assembling in front of the huts or around a large tree. Song and dance, true children of love and leisure, became the amusement, or rather the occupation of idle and assembled men and women. Each one began to look at the others and want to be looked at himself. And public esteem had value. That was the first step toward inequality and, at the same time, toward vice. From these first preferences were born, on one hand, vanity and contempt, on the other, shame and envy. And the fermentation caused by these new leavens eventually produced compounds fatal to happiness and innocence. So, first people are just chilling and actually substantively enjoying the focal practice of dancing around a tree. Then, just the ritual enjoyment. But then it became something more. It became a place for a person to see people and to be seen. And then here comes the notion of public esteem. And then after the notion of public esteem comes, inequality and people flexing with whatever esteem they have and other people jockeying for it. Then you get this artificial competition. This is what Rousseau is explaining. Okay? And then you add women into the mix and men competing for the affections of women, then you get a lot of trouble. A lot of problems. Okay? We all know this. Men everywhere know this. It's like Tupac said, a long time ago. Women get horny, niggas die. Women get horny, niggas die. And you know the reason why. It don't take a genius to figure it out. Anyway, in civil society, according to Rousseau, the consequences of the combination of amor propria and love as a value in itself are morally disastrous, especially if they're unconnected to duty. And see, that's the issue right now. Man, I think he's spot on about this. Now, you can say what you want to say about him being regressive or anti-feminist, but the reality of the situation is the whole idea of wanting to be seen and only caring about yourself and being psychologically egoistic and then just, talking about love and I want to find love and then not to have a duty associated with the loves you've already entered into. That is a recipe for societal disaster. And people don't want to respect that. People act like we're talking about just some trivial shit. This is the centerpiece of social relations. You can say what you want to about it. If the state is going to be able to dictate in the near future the way that men and women relate to each other, it's going to be disastrous if they keep on with the way that they're making us relate to each other now. It's going to be a fucking disaster. I can guarantee I can foresee it like a prophet, like I'm Nostradamus. I swear to God, I can see it. Anyway, according to him, this is an important reason why women should be confined to the sphere of their true competence, taking care of children, fucking around in the house, and rest and recreation for men. Much of what Rousseau writes concerning the desirability of a separate feminine sphere centers around the evils to be thus avoided. There is, however, a substantive contribution made by this to the good of society, one which is an essential feature of a legitimate society governed by the general will. Now, this is all philosophical language. Of course, Rousseau thinks that the general will is public reason applied to decision-making in a political context as opposed to private decision-making in the market. Private decision-making is suitable for market pursuits, but it's not suitable for political pursuits, not to Rousseau. You don't just think about what's good for you. It's not like you're going to the mall trying to find a pair of shoes and you're looking for the best deal for you. Or you're going out trying to buy a car and you want what's going to tickle your fancy or whatever. It's not just about you as it pertains to the political. It's the entire commonwealth, the entire polity, the entire culture. You have to be able to think in general and universalizable terms. So that's just the philosophical language which is trying to explain that, okay? But anyway, the author, Lydia Lange, goes on to say, and she's a feminist now. And she's being critical of Rousseau, but at the same time, she's being honest about, or she's being charitable to the arguments that Rousseau is making, okay? Anyway, the contribution to a good society of women's playing a feminine role has ramifications for virtually every issue in moral and political life, according to Rousseau. The scheme he presents also includes a fully developed romantic ideal of the relations of the sexes, presented in a very complete form in Julie or the New Heloise. That's what that shit means, the New Heloise. And to a lesser extent in Emile, in the book dealing with the education of women. Nevertheless, the place of the feminine role in Rousseau's political philosophy may be centered around two basic themes. These are the need for the family and its particular attachments as a natural base for patriotism, amour de la patrie, and hence as a nursery for good citizens, and the need for a certainty of paternity in connection with the requirements of the institution of private property. But, I would even add a third, fuck what Rousseau was talking about. I would add a third on my own, which was already kind of discussed. Like, men are not going to agree forever to be involved in, support over institutions over which they have no impact whatsoever, no contribution at all, other than, like a parasitic contribution where, I have to give something, but I have no decision-making power whatsoever. Currently, that is the situation which men find themselves in. So women, have fought for freedom, but freedom from what and for what? Negative liberty to enter into the market? Free to bounce from, penis to penis based upon their idea of what love is, and I can find a better person, like shopping for men, it's like shopping for a purse at the mall or some shit. You're going to keep going to different stores and you're going to buy one and then you don't like it, so you're going to return it and take it back. Like, wait a minute. You're using the wrong kind of thinking and you have the wrong philosophical orientation towards what relationship building if you think that it's like a market. But like, this society encourages everybody to think in terms of market-based efficiency and market-based productivity. Everything becomes commodified. And that's what Rousseau doesn't like. But anyway, regarding the first of these themes, it is apparent that it concerns education in the widest sense of the term, which is to say, the whole socialization of citizens. It is not surprising, therefore, that Rousseau addresses this issue most directly in his work on education. Emile, which is that work, okay? He refers to Plato's Republic, which he admires very much, as the finest work on public education. That is, education for political life ever written. It has, in his view, however, one glaring defect. Rousseau writes, in his Republic, Plato gives women the same exercises as men. I can well believe it. Having removed private families from his regime and no longer knowing what to do with women, he found himself forced to make them men. I am not speaking of that civil promiscuity which throughout confounds the two sexes in the same employments and in the same labors, and which cannot fail to engender the most intolerable abuses. I speak of that subversion of the sweetest sentiments of nature, sacrifice to an artificial sentiment, which can only be maintained by them as though there were no need for a natural base on which to form conventional ties, as though the love of one's nearest were not the principle of love one owes the state, as though it were not by means of the small fatherland, which is the family, that the heart attaches itself to the large one, as though it were not the good son, the good husband, the good father who make the good citizen. Now, I mean, look, that's just a fancy way of saying this, in my estimation. Your love for your family is the place where you begin to work out your connection to the state and gives you a reason to want to see the preservation of the state. Without men having a connection to families and a legacy and property that they can push forward in the future, what do men have to hold on to the state for? Why would they respect the state at all? Why would they not burn the motherfucker down to flames? Why would they not create anarchy? This is what look, people don't believe what I'm saying. Continue to fuck with men the way that you are and give them nothing to look forward to. No hope, no future. One of the options for men is to become bums and apathetic. That's one option that men, or one route men can take. The other route is men are just going to eventually get to the point where they just tear this shit up because they feel like they have no investment in it. And the very things which would give them meaning and give them a reason to push forward and to go on have been removed from them. This is why when you look at black nationalists, I look at it and I say, damn, these people don't get it. Like, I read some nationalist literature like a while ago. It was, written by Mumu Ninas from a Newark, New Jersey, black nationalist group, and it was quoted in the Combahee River Collective. But like, one of the things that they said within the context of the nationalist literature was that, look, the black nationalist woman is going to have to accept a specific kind of function and role within the context of the family because she is the first teacher. This is where citizens are socialized, the family. Now, we've already seen what happens when the state take over the role of educating children, especially children like black children. They do a terrible job. Especially when it comes to black boys. Especially as it pertains to black boys. But it doesn't really matter, though, at all. This is not a black and white problem at its core, though. This is a problem about men and women in general and the impact it's going to have on the strength of the culture in which you live. Anyway, in the Republic, and I've read certain segments, so I've talked about Plato's Republic with you before. In the Republic, the guardians who rule by virtue of their superior wisdom are required to act as if they were brothers and sisters when identifying their interest. So basically, Plato abolishes the family. That's what happens in Plato's Republic. The family is eradicated for a specific class of citizens, though. They're not eradicated for the wage earners. They get to keep their families. But the guardians, they don't have normal families, okay? They don't have mononuclear or private families. And they don't have private property either, okay? So anyway, family relations are a metaphor for their unity, whose real basis is philosophic objectivity arising from the ability to transcend individual appetite and self-interest. The development of this ability requires a certain type of education, which Plato specifies in the Republic: poetry, gymnastics, and the like. Censored, education where you don't get to see men crying like little bitches over their friends dying in battle or whatever the case may be, like Achilles did in the Trojan War. I forget who it was that died, but somebody died, and Achilles starts crying and shit, and it's like, this is not this is not what you want to see if you're a young guardian, because it's going to make you temperamental and emotional when you should be resolute and steadfast in the context of battle. But anyway, and circumstances of life which do not contain inherent conflicts of interest between the good of the city and the good of the individual ruler. The chief sources of these conflicts, according to Plato, are private property and private families. So the way that you get rid of the conflict between the interest of individuals and what's to the best of the good of the city, or what's best for, the good of the whole city-state, right? Just get rid of private property and family. But, of course, Rousseau is going to think that that's not a good idea. Anyway, this is why the philosopher rulers must live communally, free of all family attachments, and be utterly disassociated from the practicalities of life, having everything provided for them by the other two social groups of artisans and warriors. And this is like a priestly class, okay? Not to say some people can't do this, because some people do it. The Jesuits do it. The brothers, the Christian brothers do it. The De La Sallian brothers do it. Some, different Asians do it. Some of those guys do it. So there are priestly classes of men who, they do away with private property and they live communally. But does the average person have the fortitude to live like that? Anyway, Rousseau, who also wants to socialize citizens capable of transcending subjective self-interest, cannot make use of any arrangement resembling this because of his position on the inevitable evils of inequality. Equally important, Rousseau does not denigrate the natural world as a mere shadow of reality like Plato does. Without Plato's metaphysical system, the total transcendence of particularity on the part of the philosopher rulers is a requirement that appears fantastic. And I think Plato's metaphysics is fantastic, but hey, that's just me. On the other hand, the contractarian solution of the conflict between individual self-interest and the existence of the civil state, which was to attempt a logical identification of the two in terms of enlightened self-interest, was rejected by Rousseau as an inadequate foundation of political right. Rousseau feels a third alternative, in which he attempts to sustain the materialist epistemology, which was a philosophically progressive element in early contractarian theory. He attempts to wed particularity to generality by means of redirecting the passions in a manner that will support rather than militate against the civil state. But unlike contractarian theory, this is not a logical identification of the 2 points of view through the application of a single rational criterion for both. Nor is it exactly like Platonic attempts to harness, in the interest of civil society, the very force that is traditionally thought to threaten those interests most, namely the natural passions. Put simply, it is the injunction not to obey the law because it is rational, but to love it, and thus bring into harmony particular and public interest. This emotional leap is what makes possible the transcendence of a more propria required for the determination of the general will. Now, that's a lot to take in. I'm not going to try to walk through that minefield. But understand that what Rousseau is trying to do is trying to wed individual interest to public interest, and how to do that, and how to avoid the problem of a more propria, which, gives rise to vanity and, this individualistic way of thinking. So it is Rousseau's belief that those who are incapable of loving those near to them and who have no particular attachments will be even less capable of the love of their country and its laws or of any sacrifice for the common good. And that's a bomb right there. If you can't have a duty to your own family, then how you gonna have a duty to the state? If it's fuck everybody, then it's fuck everybody. Why even make a contribution to the state? You don't even have love for your own family. What would you love the state? Why? This is Rousseau is onto some shit right here. I think Rousseau is onto something here. That's just my opinion, though. It is Rousseau's belief that those who are incapable of loving those near to them and who have no particular attachments will be even less capable of the love of their country and its laws or any sacrifice for the common good. Because you have to be able to practice sacrifice. You have to be able to practice that. Where else are you going to practice it other than in the context of familial life? Where else are you going to be able to practice it? And if the only regard you have is your own interest above and beyond everyone else, then what the fuck is the social contract? There really isn't one. Anyway, particular effective relationships are an essential part of the personal development of the citizen for Rousseau and play a foundational role in civil society. Although the virtue of citizens consists in a conformity of the individual will to the general will, which may in principle be justified by reason, Rousseau places a great deal of emphasis on the necessity for appropriate feeling to make such a civil state possible in fact. Mere abstract principles, he argues, even if backed by force, will never be enough to prevent individual self-interest from undermining the state. He recommends patriotism, amour de la patrie, as the most efficacious means of raising the sights of individuals from self-interest to the good of the state. For we willingly want what is wanted by the people we love. Patriotism, therefore, is not an abstract principle for Rousseau, but an active sentiment which promotes the type of personal development needed to create citizens. And man, look, a show was done yesterday about women, like I think Dr. Johnson was talking about like Tommy Curry's idea of patriarchy and the state and how to, create patriotism and the way that women went about supporting men in order to actually attain it and achieve it. They know the formula for this shit. Like, white folks are not stupid at all. They understand perfectly well how to go about creating nationalism and patriotism. By means of the family as a springboard. Like, look at what the conservative right does, man. Look at the values that they have and that they extol. Now, you can say what you want to about their racism or whatever the case may be, but one thing is a fact. They are together as it comes down to their ideas about private life and familial institutions and patriotism. It's because the two exist in conjunction. You don't have patriotism or anything if it's not reflected or taught or enculturated in the context of a family. This is why all of these pro-black motherfuckers just kill me. You can't have pro-black shit without the pro-black family. It's impossible to do, man. Because who's going to teach the civic virtues of black nationalism? Who? The fucking public school system? Come on now. It ain't gonna happen. They're not going to educate you so that you can understand and be politically aware and to be compelled to pursue your own freedom. They're going to try to make you get down and, dirty within the confines of the system. They're going to indoctrinate you to operate the way the system wants you to operate to cause the least amount of resistance so that you are nullified as a threat. No disrespect to any European or white people watching or whatever, but I mean, it just is what it is. Patriotism, therefore, is not an abstract principle, but an active sentiment, which promotes the type of personal development needed to create citizens. He argues, for example, that patriotism is not possible in a country too large for the citizens to feel directly some common interest and identification with one another. And look, there's a new sci-fi series out. It may be that the kind of city, the cities and the states and the landscapes, the municipalities that we exist in, maybe they are too large for us to have any substantive bonds with one another. Maybe this shit is doomed to fall apart. Maybe it can't be ministered. Maybe, we can't get past the idea of amor propria. Maybe we can't transcend it. It's just a thought. Even supposing the average citizen were a philosopher, according to Rousseau, this would not solve the problem of sustaining the general will in a good state. Reason, because of what it is cosmopolitan in its outlook. Patriotism is therefore ultimately based on a lie. Though a noble lie, if you will, which is, reminiscent of what Plato asked for, the people who are founding the state in this Plato's Republic, what they have to do in order to get people to accept, the order there. But anyway, that's just an allusion to Plato's Republic. The shared customs and religion that give a nation cohesion, when regarded dispassionately and objectively, cannot be shown to be any better in reality than those of any other nation. But each nation, according to Rousseau, needs emotional loyalty from its citizens rather than the mere approval of its authority on the basis of reason. It is the same with the family, as Alan Bloom puts it. We would think it monstrous if a man neglected his own children in favor of some others he thought superior. These loyalties are arbitrary accidents of history. This is why, according to Rousseau, philosophers make poor kinsmen and citizens. Every particular society, when it is narrow and unified, is estranged from the all-encompassing society. Every patriot is harsh to foreigners. They are only men. They are nothing in his eyes. This is a drawback, inevitable but not compelling. The essential thing is to be good to the people with whom one lives. Distrust those cosmopolitans who go to great lengths in their books to discover duties they do not deign to fulfill around them. A philosopher loves the Tartars so as to be spared having to love his neighbors. So, all Rousseau is saying is you have to actually have real love for real people in order to fulfill philosophical ideas. A lot of people are just involved with cap. They have no love or fidelity to anything. The only fidelity they have is to themselves. But you need more than that in order to have a strong state. One that won't dissolve, one that's not weak, one that cannot be manipulated and pushed and pulled by, in any direction by any group. The philosophers of rational self-interest and amor propria cannot be counted on to sustain a state set up for the common good. Particular effective relations in the family or a foundation for particular effective relations to a given state. The relation of mother and child is the prototype of particular attachment, whether considered in relation to the philosophic history Rousseau provides in the second discourse or in the development of the individual within the civil state. It is the human relationship that precedes all others, for the species and for the individual. As we have seen, it provides the link between children and artificial paternity. Without a feminine role grounded on motherhood, the family, viewed from within this model, loses its unique quality of being an artificial institution which incorporates natural relations. Losing that, it can no longer function as a natural base for the development of amour de la patrie, and hence civic virtue. In addition to the need for a family as the natural base for the development of love, patriotism, okay? Rousseau needs a mechanism to ensure certainty of paternity for the inheritance of property. There's no doubt that from Rousseau's point of view, this is an inviolable requirement of social civil life. In Emile, he writes, the unfaithful woman dissolves the family and breaks all the bonds of nature. In giving the man children which are not his, she betrays both. Damn. The unfaithful woman dissolves the family and breaks all the bonds of nature. In giving the man children which are not his, she betrays the children and the man. Damn. Damn. She joins perfidy to infidelity. That's just crazy, man. She basically joins deceit to infidelity. That's what perfidy is, being a liar, untrustworthy, right? I have difficulty seeing what disorders and what crimes do not flow from this one. Now, we ain't even we're looking at a feminist rendering of what Rousseau has to say. But I mean, think about it, man. That's a gangsta ass quote right there, bro. The unfaithful woman dissolves the family and breaks all the bonds of nature. In giving the man children which are not his, she betrays both. She joins perfidy, untrustworthiness to infidelity. I have difficulty seeing. Hold on. Let me make sure I said that right. Yeah, he says, I have difficulty seeing what disorders and what crimes do not flow from this one. Like you setting up some dangerous shit when you do that. The woman knows the kids are hers. The man does not know. But you can't get a man to dedicate all of his energy and effort and input into a familial arrangement where he knows that those kids ain't his. Why put that much effort and energy into that relationship without being fully confident that woman, that's what cooperation is. That's what submission actually fucking is. You want to know what submission is? Not being a fucking bust down. Not being a slut. Not going out fucking everybody. So that the man that you got helping you in the venture of life can be confident that the children are his. Hey, man, I'm going to give him a ticking time bomb for Rashard McKinney. Look at this. To the husband, a child not his own represents the plunderer of his own children's property. Damn. Damn. Make that nigga call those kids his. Make that nigga go out there and work. Make him buy you a Dooney and Burke. And the funny thing is how many men are willing to accept the current social arrangement, the current infidelity, and the current perfidy, the deceit. Not, you got women who are not even being deceitful anymore about it. Because the system, right now, the state has made it such that a woman no longer actually needs the man for sustenance and provision. Although she still feels entitled to it. Still feels entitled to it. But the state has set up a situation in which the woman can basically do whatever she wants to. I know Rousseau is going to have an issue with this. And all under the aegis of we can't leave the kids out here bad. But you might not be leaving them out of there bad materially, but you're leaving them out there bad educationally and emotionally. Because who the fuck is taking care of the kids? Who's raising these kids? The state is raising these kids. But that's just the way the state wants it. That's just the way the corporations want it. The creation of a pliable consumer public doesn't really think deeply or substantively about anything. A pliable consumer culture is what they aim for, who will follow orders and who won't give much pushback to authority. And this is what we're getting. This is what we're getting. Anyway, much of the force of this may be traced to the theme already presented. The family is not a family unless united in the manner described by the woman's playing a correct feminine role. It is only necessary to establish a link between this and property. In spite of Rousseau's criticism of economic inequality, as well as other forms of inequality, he never moves towards the view that private property ought to be done away with. Whatever other reasons there may be for Rousseau's repeated insistence that private property is a basic, even a sacred right, has this woman read Rousseau? Like, in the discourse on inequality, the first thing he says is that to get men to agree to private property, the first man who put a fence around a plot of land and said that it was his was the beginning of, it was the start of all kind of vices and problems. Now, that's what Rousseau says. So I don't see how this squares up. Her secondary analysis squares up with Rousseau's own words. But I mean, here we do exist in a civil society. Property is in existence. Private property is here. It ain't going nowhere. Anyway, whatever other reasons there may be for Rousseau's repeated insistence that private property is a basic, even a sacred right, the male-headed private family has a basic, inexorable economic requirement. It requires to have its subsistence in the form of private property in control of the male head of the family. This is necessary because the family is not private if the mode of acquisition, use, and disposal of its subsistence and surplus do not meet the basic requirements of the institution of private property, and it's not male-headed unless these rights and duties are centered on the husband or father. It is clear that Rousseau's ideal family is made up of a male provider and a dependent wife and children, so that the basic requirement of privacy is met. Family privacy, because of the way it particularizes the individual's relations to certain others, is necessary, as we have seen, for the particular attachments so important to the early development of citizens and for the provision of a link between nature and social life. On the other hand, private property is necessary for the autonomy of the male head of the family in relation to other males. The particularity of this relation to his family would collapse if he did not have unique responsibilities and rights in relation to them. So in his treatment of the sexes, Rousseau's principles and method are precisely the same as what he exhibits in connection with all his important claims concerning human nature. The structure of his views can be shown to be parallel to that of his views of the natural man and citizen. And then she says, look at the table on page 265. So let's look at that. There's a chart here. And I knew that this was going to be sideways, so ahead of time, I went and pulled out the chart so you can see it straight up and down. And I'm not going to go too much further than this because I'm already damn near an hour and 30 minutes, okay? So the table is supposed to be representative of outlining the transformation of natural qualities by social relations. So in the pure state of nature, you have, number one, emotional autonomy. But in a state of war, and she says there may or may not be a bogus social contract, you have amor propria, which is like a conceited kind of self-identification. And in the legitimate civil state, you have moral liberty. In the pure state of nature, number two, you have practical autonomy. In the state of war, you have master-slave relations. In the legitimate civil state, there is equality. And I think that, Rousseau is going to say that most societies have bogus social contracts. Okay, just understand that. Anyway, number three, the pure state of nature, self-preservation. The state of war, particular or only personal interest. In the legitimate civil state, you have virtue, conformity of the particular will to the general will. In the pure state of nature, you have female weakness and sexual timidity. In the state of war, you have sexual manipulation or pseudo-masculinity. Damn. Oh, man, look. Sexual manipulation or pseudo-masculinity. Good fucking Lord, bro. Hey, thanks, Rock One. I appreciate the shout, the handout, my brother, man. I straight up do, my brother. I appreciate that. And thank you, 3000 GT Atlanta again. Appreciate that. Okay. Now look now. In the legitimate civil state, you have modesty. Okay. Now, in the pure state of nature, you have male sexual spontaneity. In the state of war, or a place where there's a bogus social contract, you have compulsive and violent sexuality, domination of unsuccessful female manipulators. Oh, man. In the legitimate civil state, you have male sexual spontaneity, governed by reason and knowledge. In the pure state of nature, you have spontaneous compassion, which is pity. Men have empathy for each other. They want to see each other do well and feel sorrowful when another person is down on his luck. In the state of war, we love to destroy people and see them fucking fail. Isn't this just so true about the culture we live in? Like, people want to see you fucking not be successful. Even the people you fucking are in intimate relationships with. They want to see you doing bad. What type of shit is is this? This culture I tell you, it is sick. It is sick. Anyway, in the legitimate civil state, Rousseau says there's patriotism, there's friendship, and you actually get to romantic love. Okay? So those are, all of the transformation of natural qualities and how they, morph to dysfunction or function based upon or predicated on the quality of social relations, right, that exist between men and women and citizen, okay? So I'm not going to be much longer doing this, bro. I swear to God, I ain't. I swear I'm not. Okay? So anyway, that's the page that she wanted us to look at, right? So let me just read the text again so I'm not, not all screwed up. Anyway, he says, in his treatment of the nature of the sexes, Rousseau's principles and method are precisely the same as what he exhibits in connection with all his important claims concerning human nature. So some people say that he's inconsistent in how he treats men and women. But this feminist author is saying, well, actually, when you look at his entire social schema, actually, he's quite consistent. I think that's what, one of the arguments she's trying to make. The structure of his views can be shown to be parallel to that of his views of the natural man and citizen. A natural quality is transformed by social relations. It may be corrupted by bad social relations, a process which occurs as the golden age of savagery degenerates into civilized social relations dominated by particular interest and amour propre. This process results in the development of a state of war like the Hobbesian. That is, one in which the interest of each individual are opposed to the interest of every other individual. This state, according to Rousseau, may or may not be characterized by a bogus social contract which primarily serves the interest of the rich. Alternatively, a good civil society ruled by the general will would make possible the development of the uniquely human potential of these natural qualities. Now, the natural condition of women is said to be weakness and sexual timidity. In social relations governed by particular interest and amour propre, these qualities become sexual manipulation. That is morally bad coquetry. Now listen to this shit now. You have to pay attention to this section here. I had to cover this. Thank you, Harold George. Appreciate that. This is a dope article, man. I know it's cerebral. I know it is. It's not sensational. It's cerebral, but it's dope, man. You got to pay attention to this now. And, you can disagree with it, agree with it, whatever the case may be. But, you can't argue that this woman has written a good article, okay? It is what it is. Anyway, the natural condition of woman is said to be weak. Women is said to be weakness and sexual timidity. In social relations governed by particular interest and amour propre, which is all about me, fuck everybody else, is all about me. Fuck the unit, even the familial unit. Right? In social relations governed by particular interest and amour propre, these qualities become sexual manipulation. That is morally bad coquetry. There may also be the attempt to become a man among men. In a legitimate civil state, these qualities are expressed as modesty. The male, for his part, is sexually spontaneous but unaggressive in the state of nature. In a bad civil state, or the state of war, this becomes compulsive and violent sexuality, an aspect of the petulance of amour propre. Domination by men of unsuccessful female manipulators is a natural consequence of this. In a good society, male sexual spontaneity is restored, restrained by reason and knowledge. The dialectical counterpart of proper female coquetry is male courting behavior rather than violence or domination. In the state of nature, compassion is a quality of both sexes. This is all but destroyed by the necessary opposition of interest in a competitive, unequal society. In a legitimate society, it is restored and transformed into patriotism, friendship, and romantic love. Now listen now, in the state of nature, compassion is in both sexes, but it's destroyed by the opposition of interest in a competitive, unequal society. In a legitimate society, it is restored and transformed into patriotism, friendship, and romantic love. Romantic love here is represented or presented as one of the finest products of correct socialization, which renders uniquely human a relation which would otherwise be a merely animal function or a master-slave relation within the social relations of the state of war. Romantic love is thought to remove the disability from women of lesser physical strength by ensuring respect for their persons. Now, it may be noted at this point that most criticism of romantic love is not addressed to the ideal itself, but to the undeniable fact that it is hardly ever realized in practice, and that the ideal seems to lend itself to hypocrisy where the sexes are socially unequal. Romantic love, at least as it is idealized by Rousseau, is, however, incompatible with particular interest and amor propre. And let me just say this, bro. Look. It's hard to find romantic love or whatever the case may be. I honestly believe that men are more romantic and have more ideas about romance than do women. For women, relationships are all about business. That's why they keep dumping motherfuckers and looking for somebody else. To them, it's nothing but a business. It's nothing but a market type of enterprise. What's best for me? What am I getting from this? What do I get out of it? What's my personal satisfaction? But that's not what love is actually supposed to be about anyway. It's supposed to be about reciprocity and sacrifice. That's what it's supposed to be about. It's not about, well, I'm waiting to see if I can get the next high value motherfucker. That's not what it's supposed to be about. Especially when you take oaths. Like, you got women who are literally fixing their mouths to take oaths that they don't actually give a fuck about. All that enrichedness, or poorness, sickness and health, better or worse, they don't believe that shit. Not a single line of it. Not a single solitary, I ain't gonna say all of them do, but the vast majority of them do not. Especially the ones that are divorced and got single kids, they single moms. They don't honor those oaths or oaths, whatever. They don't fucking honor those agreements. And then they'll use any excuse, and the biggest excuse today for a woman is that the man was abusive. That's the biggest fucking excuse that a woman has today. The man, he abused me. Even though we already know that, like, in the vast majority of instances, it's women kickstarting most of the violence in the relationship. And most times, it's predicated upon sexual manipulation. I'm not going to give you no pussy. I'm going to go out and tease you and act like I'm giving other men the pussy, or I'm about to go give another nigga the pussy. Like, literally, like, fuck you, nigga. You made me mad. I'm about to go fuck somebody to get at you or get back at you. I'm just saying now. I got a guest, man. I'm going to let him come up and speak his piece real quick before I move on with this. Chemical JDZ, what's going on? Who are you, sir? And I'm glad that you came to talk to me today, but you know who I am, but can you let us know who you are, bro?
Yeah. Can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, you got a little background noise going on, and your mic is not as clear as I would like for it to be. But we're gonna work with you, man. Talk to me, brother.
All right, man. I'm at work a little bit. But yeah, man, I heard you say something about they not gonna be able to continue at this rate with this with this shit they got going on, right? And you're right about that. Most men are at the point where they're like, you know what? Fuck it, man. Hey, burn this bitch down. Let these motherfuckers ruin their own shit. Cause like, you can't be a man no more nowadays. So what the hell you gonna be?
Yeah, I mean, well, you can't be a man in the traditional sense of the word. But like men, when they have a reason for going to work and a reason for living, and like for a reason to be charitable, you can circumscribe their actions to a certain extent. But what you've done is you've taken away men's ability to have any impact over their familial life. And then you place all of the responsibility for the dissolvement of familial relations to men, because of men's, brutishness or whatever the case may be. But look, the reality is that there are market forces at play and a particular mentality at play that's creating these rifts. And it's all based upon self-interest and what can I get and the honor I want. Like, what do you think all these women going to get degrees is for? Half of these women could give a fuck less about these goddamn degrees, to be perfectly honest. They're doing it because they've been told they need to do it, for one. Right. But it's all about honor. It's all about them being able to throw the shit in the motherfuckers' faces and say, look at me, look what I've done. And it is a masculine trait. It's some masculine shit to compete for the affections of women. That's what men have done this shit for. To compete for the affection of women, to demonstrate their fitness to form and pair bond with a woman so that they can raise a family and have a legacy. That's one of the reasons why men, like posture and pose and peacock. But what happens when you got women doing the same shit?
Nope, it doesn't work.
I'm just saying, like, you got women going out there saying, I can do what you can do. Like, they're competing with you to demonstrate fitness for what purpose?
Nope.
I mean, to go by.
Really go fight some fire.
I'm just asking a question. They won't come talk to me about this shit, though. They ain't gonna come talk to me about it.
I mean, I get you, bro, because like I've been sitting there the whole time, and I just like, okay, so if y'all don't want men to be men, what do y'all want? What the fuck y'all want then? What do y'all want us to do? Like if men aren't being men, then what are women here for? Like, what are y'all getting? They can't get men if they don't want men. Like, the society has turned the real men into these bitch boys, and women say, oh, I want a real man, but a real man gets locked up in jail for being a man. Like, you can't say what you want to say, you can't do what you want to do, you can't be the type of man you want to be, you can't handle your business the way you want to, because if you say the wrong thing, here comes Me Too, here comes the feminist movement, here comes all of these issues that say you can't be a man, but we're gonna be the ones to tell you can't be a man. So the problem is the people who says what men can do aren't even men. So it's like the teacher telling the students it's like the students teaching the class. It's worse than it's the insane running the asylum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way out of this shit. The only thing I see is men are gonna just say, you know what? Hey, screw it. I'm gonna be a dude. I'm gonna do whatever I want to do as a man. I don't care who don't like it. Take me to jail, lock me up. At least I'm being myself. At least I'm being a man. At least I'm happy with who the hell I am. Because these dudes nowadays, like you said, man, the way it's turning out now, all of these dudes is not, they just bitches. They men with, I mean, the only difference between these dudes nowadays is they got male body parts. Everything else ain't no different. They done made the playing field so even that men can't be men no more. And when you are being a man, they say, "Oh, you can't do that." You know, the small things that men can do that women can't do, they want to fight with you over that shit because they like, well, we can't do that, so y'all can't do that either.
It's gotten to the point, man. It's gotten to the point right now where you got men who basically are turning into women and shit, like decidedly, decidedly pursuing like femininity as an option because like masculinity ain't working for them.
Oh, I said that a long time ago when I seen all these dudes turning into bitches and shit. Like when they started going to like all these dudes, like first of all, the reason why you see so many gay black dudes or feminized black men is because it ain't safe to be a man and it's not safe to be a black man. So you got two reasons to not even want to be a man. And I've been saying this shit for the longest. I'm like, see, y'all gonna mess around and not have no man to go to in America because you scared the real man. The real man like, shit, I ain't saying shit. I ain't saying nothing. I ain't got nothing to do with it. They stand out of the way. And then the men who want to function in society, they got to tuck their nuts in and be a bitch, right? So when they say where are the real men at, y'all killed them off. They're extinct down there. They're hiding. God damn it, we on YouTube talking behind these screens because if we get caught talking anywhere else, who knows what's going to happen to our fucking lives? You feel me, man?
I mean, So what this is to me, and I get what you're saying. It's like at every turn, everywhere you go, every angle, it's they got this shaming, and then not only that, they using corporations, and your ability to be employed, or they're using the state to come after you for having like an opinion or even standing up for yourself. Or look, Rousseau says this shit. He says, look. When you start to have men and women mix, and one of the reasons that you see men doing this shit is because they want the attention and the affection of women. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of guys are bending and kowtowing to the desires of women because women know how to manipulate men in order to get them to, do what they want, either through sexual, flirtation or through shame.
Yep, exactly.
They know, I mean, and look, and so, like, this is why Rousseau is like, man, look, women have their own worlds, men have their own. You know what I'm saying? Like, and look, maybe you might disagree with how he goes about it, but like, there'll have to be times and places where men have their own meeting spaces, their own institutions, and women have their own as well. I believe that. I believe, I'm not saying that we should never mix at all. I'm not saying women should have no impact or ability to, have contribute to decision making.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, but, at the same time, when it's time to make decisions for what men need to be ahead of those decisions. It shouldn't be, oh, let's see what the women say. No, if it's something that pertains to men only, then we don't need to be asking a woman's opinion. She can give her opinion after we make our decisions, but other than that, we don't need nobody in between that. Come on, man. We had boys only clubs when we were kids. You know what I mean? That was the reason for that shit. You know what I mean? So we can find out what we want to do today, how we were gonna play, what we were gonna build that day, and we didn't need no girls in there talking about, oh, that's not fair. Y'all building a tree house. Yeah, we building a tree house. Go play in your dollhouse. You know what I mean? Like let us be us, y'all be y'all, and everybody be cool. And we can meet in the middle, and the girls can enjoy things that boys do, and dudes can be like, oh, that's cool. Y'all girls got y'all shit together. But no, everything mixed up together. So a man can't even oppress a woman because a woman's like, yeah, I'm doing it too. Like, okay, well, I'll be more impressed if you was doing some womanly shit. And I'd be like, oh, damn, that's cool. But doing shit that I know how to do don't impress me none.
Well,
I'm not impressed by that.
But here's the issue, though, right? So, like, one of the things I want to let brothers know is that, like, increasingly we move into a service-based economy anyway. So, like, it's not a manufacturing based economy. So yeah, why wouldn't women be able to do the work? The most of the work is done, you know, like
You
at
built it
in
already.
front of a computer terminal, or you like providing service by, you know, calling or talking to people, asking them for money, or trying to make a sale. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, or you know, you're doing clerical work or some shit like that, or you know, maybe. I mean, I'm not saying that's the only work out there, but a vast majority of the work is of that kind. You know what I'm saying? And so it
Right.
ain't like, you know, we build in America brick by brick, you know, pipe by pipe, rail by rail anymore. It's not, that's not the way the economy is set up right now. It's not like a manufacturing based economy. It's a service based economy. So women feel like they actually going out being able to make cash puts them in a masculine spot, which they feel like they've been prevented from being in from time immemorial. And that's just how they feel, you know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, man, I know you're driving, and you got a lot of background noise, so I'm gonna let some other people come up, bro. But thank you for your contribution, man.
Oh, most definitely, brother. I'll catch you later, man.
All right, man, take care. What's up, Simple?
Hey, what's happening, Professor GG?
What's
Hey,
happening with you,
listen,
brother?
man. I love this shit, man. I love this philosophy, man. I mean, you know, Rousseau, Kant. I can even deal with Marx to a certain degree. I think he got some. I think he has some legitimate points, and most certainly Rousseau has some legitimate points, man. Think about it, man. In the 60s and 70s in the USA, okay, if a boy graduated high school, learned the basics of the three R's, he can go into a factory and have a job and have a career. Case in point, General Motors. Case in point, Ford Motor Company, right? Women weren't
Mm-hmm.
doing that. Men were doing that. And men could afford to buy a house to house their family, okay? Feed their family, furnish the crib. The wife and the mother took care of the house and the babies. The men supplied the money to clothe the babies, to feed the babies, to feed the wife and himself. Okay? Men could do that shit. As a matter of fact, in the 60s and 70s, men could go to work without even having a high school diploma. Okay, that system changed because, of course, we lost industry. Okay, they started selling industry to Southeast Asia and other places where people work in sweatshops, and the women over there work in the sweatshops, just like the men do. They probably even work harder, especially sewing jeans and all that type of shit. Sewing jeans, putting together sneakers, and all that type of shit. Women do that shit in Southeast Asia. I saw a documentary just last year where they showed women working in sweatshops, and these women lived, okay, in dormitories in these sweatshops. They stayed there 6 days a week. If they got lucky on Sunday, they got to go see their babies if they had babies. You
Yeah,
hear
that's
me?
crazy. That's crazy. You know,
It's
look,
crazy, but it's real.
yeah, it's crazy, but it's real. But you know, my only thing is, man, look, all I know is right now we created a situation in which, and I think this article is pretty good at kind of pointing it out.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like what women have decided in this culture is that, and it just says it like all I got to do is read, you know, the next section of this article. Let me show it to you right quick. Let me show it to you.
Okay.
All right, it says, if you read Rousseau, you may be provoked into giving some second thoughts as to what kind of social arrangements are going to actually be the most conducive to sexual equality. But what Rousseau is doing is challenging the liberal view that sexual equality can be furthered primarily by means of removal of legal and social obstacles to the advancement of individual women. It suggests that meaningful equality of right or privilege or social consideration may have to be based on an accommodation of sexual differences rather than on the more prevalent insistence on that, men and women are basically the same, except for socialization, which is what you continuously hear, Thank you, Otis. Appreciate the collection play, bro. All right. Then the author goes on to say, to the extent that women have made advances in the West in the last 2 decades, these can be summed up under the rubric of greater realization of formal or abstract equality. That is, formal equality of individuals in the marketplace. There's been little rational or concrete accommodation made for the exigencies imposed on women and men by nature and social relations as different sexual and reproductive beings. And then she goes on to say, surely it is an illusion to think that there are no such exigencies. Okay? Now, look, but now, like, people are doubling down on the idea that there are no exigencies and no differences, imposed on men and women.
Yeah.
By nature and social relations. Yeah. We are different. Yeah. But now the idea is to, okay, well, we got to treat everybody equally, formally equally, the way the market economy dictates. So that's where it's formal political equality. Okay? But, and the article then goes on to say Rousseau's views about the feminine role in society are focused on 2 problems, which remain among the most resistant to feminist solutions. The first is the physical violence of men against women, and the second is the question of whether or not the particularity of family relations must be abolished before women can enjoy the same degree as men, whatever rights, privileges, or social consideration one believes are due to persons. Now, then she goes on to talk about these, and I think that, like, women, the first thing that women start doing is talking about how they're subjected to physical fucking violence. I'm just tired of hearing this shit, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy,
like incessantly they talk about how they're victims of violence to men. They never ever discuss the ways that they're violent towards men, how they're manipulative, vindictive towards men, how they create subterfuge and, dissension within the context of a man's life. They don't ever discuss the shit. Well, like I've yet to hear feminists openly admit that they're part of this fucking problem.
Yeah. Well, check this out, man. I mean, think about American history. All right, Bonnie and Clyde, they were real. Bonnie would shoot your ass just as quick as Clyde would. They robbed banks for a living. Okay.
But of course they're gonna say that Clyde convinced Bonnie to go do that shit. Just like, Bobby convinced Whitney to become a fucking crack hype. It wasn't her that, made Bobby into a hype. It was Bobby that made her into a hype.
Then? What about Annie Oakley?
Yeah, I get it, hey, bro. Like, you ain't got to tell me. You ain't got to tell me, man. Yeah. You ain't got to tell me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't like I don't know. Like, look.
Yeah, I'm sure you do know.
Just because they got a uterus and the fucking mammary glands don't mean that they ain't vicious, bro. They got teeth just like the rest of us. They can ball a fist up and they can pull a gun out and we'll do it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? They will poison your ass. They will cut you with a knife. They will try to run over you with a car.
Yeah. Women do box in the Olympics, don't they?
Hey, bro. I'm just saying, And like my man Harold George says, don't forget the proxy violence, because a lot of times these women, man, will be like, okay, I'm going to set some shit off and I ain't even got to get my hands dirty. Watch me make this nigga go. Mm-hmm. Watch me set him off and do some things.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, think about the last story that Dr. T.S.on Johnson, he blew a gasket, man. That story about the man and the woman who beat the child to death and then lived in the same house and had to force the children to live in the same room with the dead carcass. That shit is, that shit is crazy, man. I mean, for me, thinking from a military mindset, I look at it this way. If they can kill that child, guess what? Put them on the wall. You hear what I'm saying?
Hey, man, I've always called for it, man. They want distributive, not retributive justice. That's just how I go down. I mean, that's just, That's just what it is, my brother. They want distributive justice, not retributive justice. That's just what it is. They want all of the shit that they want is based on market terms.
Yeah, I'm
And
glad.
Ray knows, my bad, bro. I'm not trying to get rid of the bots. The bot is making, if you're getting timed out or something like that, or some of the stuff not coming up, it's because I ain't got nobody really actually controlling the chat. So it is what it is, man. It be what it be. But look, man, I don't want to continue this on, man. I'm at the 2-hour mark, man. I'm about ready to close this shit down. You feel me?
All right, man.
I done what I had to do tonight, man. It's
what's
time
gonna be your next lecture, your next teaching point?
Man, I don't know, man. I really don't know at this point, man. I had to think about it. I had some inspiration, you know what I'm saying? So it might come back to me. There's some things that I was thinking about in my head. But, I do this on an ad hoc basis, man, on a day-to-day basis. I used to plan them out a week in advance, but, sometimes that's just too far down the line for me to see. I wanted to do a show on how, men are pre-Oedipal. But this is, this article is giving evidence that, according to Rousseau, a lot of men are pre-Oedipal. It don't matter if they black or white. It's just they have this reverence for motherhood and shit like that. And, they can't help but be entranced and enamored by women. You know what I'm saying? It's why?
Because it takes the woman to produce the heir.
Well, we'll put it this way. It takes the woman to produce the heir, yes, but it takes a woman to produce a soldier.
Agreed.
Or to have the motivation to become a soldier. And to have the justification to go out and fight for what? And for who? But but for what cause? Right now, man, if you're a young man coming up in this culture, man, what are you fighting for? You're not fighting for your family, your house, your children. All that shit can be snatched from you anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Indeed.
So Abuki, it ain't over with, but I'm done with it, bro. I'm not gonna keep going through this article, man. If you want to see the name of the article is entitled Rousseau and Modern Feminism. It's written by Lydia Lange. Linda Lange. And if you want to see that joint, I ain't gonna pay for it, man. I'm not subscribing to this shit. But you get 100 articles.
I go to Jay's store also, and I read whatever abstracts they have, that I could PDF. But no, I'm not subscribed. I don't subscribe either.
Yeah, I'm not paying for some of the stuff you get for free. Through your academic institution or whatever, but I'm not even, some of the stuff that I want to see, I'll download and put it on a PDF, but I'm not saving this shit to my computer, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not about to do all that. But, at the end of the day, man, Rousseau has some interesting things to say, but at the end of it all, though, nobody wants to have a wife, man, that is ignorant and is slutty and will disrespect you in public like Jada is doing Will, man. Nobody wants to have a wife like that, bro. Nobody is going to be proud of a wife like that who's, making him feel insecure about what the relationship is about. Because basically, when you do that, you making a man feel insecure about his children. And you creating all kinds of fucking problems in the context of the relationship. And what's the point of doing it? Other than to fuck with you?
And you know what? Vygotsky and Piaget has a lot to say about early childhood development and the mother's central role in doing that. That's her job. She's the first educator of the child. She's the first one to feed the child from her breast.
But see, it ain't just formal education. It's about education of disposition.
Yeah.
You understand? It's an education on political awareness, just understanding where we fit into the social schema and fighting for these, man, I swear to God, man, I'm not trying to be, disrespectful, but black women, man, are the most educated dummies, man, out here, bro. I hate to say that, bro. In terms of political aspirations, their only aspiration is market political, neoliberal advancement. That's all they think about. And it's
so-
all about, working and consumerism and leisure. It ain't about really actually having power except for power over men. That's not going to cut it in the long run. That's not going to work. Eventually, men are going to rebel against this system because it don't work for them. They're going to opt out of the contract.
Oh, indeed, yeah.
Men are going to opt out of this contract. They're going to be like, you know what? Fuck this society. Fuck these women. Fuck these kids. And when that happens, man, you're going to start to see.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you don't want to see that. I'm just keeping it 100.
You know what you're going to see? You're going to see what's the one by Dickens? Not Tale of Two Cities, but the other one, Oliver Twist. For real.
Hey, bro, I'm just saying, like, it's already fucked up out here, but like, we not working together, man, and I don't perceive us working together no time soon. I just don't see it, because everybody's just on they, I'm gonna get my bag type thing. So,
well, we're gonna be, if that's the case, then we're gonna be absorbed, man. There's going to be no Black Americans. They're going to be absorbed. I mean, they're going to get lighter and lighter all the time because the young boys right now, the young men, even as early as middle school, I've been hearing, man, on these YouTube streets, man, especially through the Black manosphere, that these young boys are telling their fathers that, hey, no, I ain't dealing with these black girls. They punching on me and they talk about they punching me because they like me. Really? I mean,
yeah, this is crazy, bro. Yeah, they it's like they wanna. That's sadistic, man. Like you a masochist or some shit. Like you like, being subjected to pain. No, we don't, motherfucker. We're not masochists. But anyway, bro, man,
Well, thanks for letting me up, man. I
for sure,
appreciate it.
man. For sure, bro. For sure, man. Be peaceful, my brother. Glad that you came
you too,
through.
man. All right,
Glad
salute.
you came through. Anyway, man, I'm about to sign off on this thing, man, And like I said before, man, I got me a little beat channel. I just started it, And check out some of the beats I make, man, if you want to, on YouTube channel that I got posted in the chat. It's popping up from time to time. Check that joint out. And anyway, man, I'm about to go ahead and sign up out this joint though, man. I'm gonna play one of these beats. It might not sound good right now in relation to because I ain't mix it and master it or nothing like that. But check the joint out, man. Check the new channel I got out, man. I got 6,000 some odd damn subscribers on my own channel. I at least should be able to get fucking 1,000 subscribers to this new channel I got. So go over there, man, and subscribe to the Beat channel, man. I'll holler at y'all later, man. Talk to you. Peace.
Green Gorilla Beat.